Good afternoon. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Climate and Infrastructure Committee for February 20th, 2025. My name is Katie Cashman. I'm the chair of this committee. Before we begin, I want to offer a friendly reminder to all the committee members, staff, and public that the meetings are broadcast live to enable greater public participation. These broadcasts include real-time captioning to increase the accessibility of our proceedings. Speakers need to be mindful of the rate of their speech and the clarity of their comments so that captioners can fully transcribe everything for the broadcast. Additionally, I want to note that consistent with council rules, those who interfere with the committee's conducting of business will be asked to leave. Those who refuse to follow those instructions will be removed from the chamber, so please be respectful of speakers and others in the chamber as well. And I will ask my colleagues to please sign in to speaker management today as well. And at this time, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll to verify presence of a quorum.
Councilmember Vita.
Present.
Osman is absent. Chavez.
Present.
Chowdhury is absent. Vice Chair Koski.
Present.
Chair Cashman.
Present.
There are 4 members present.
Let the record reflect we have a quorum. We'll start with the consent agenda, items 2 through 4. Item 2 is authorizing a cooperative agreement with Hennepin County for the reconstruction of Glenwood Avenue from Aldrich Avenue North to 10th Street North. Item 3 is authorizing the submittal of a grant to the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency for its resiliency program for the Oliver Avenue South Flood Mitigation Project. Item 4 is authorizing license agreements with up to 2 vendors for the 2025 Shared Bike and Scooter Program. Is there any discussion or questions on items 2 through 4? I do have one question. Director Sexton, if you'll be able to answer, who are the 2 vendors that we're working with for the 2025 Bike and Scooter Program?
Chair Cashman and members of the committee, unfortunately, we are not yet able to announce that information. We're still in negotiations with the 2 vendors.
But we will have 2. That's the decision.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no further questions or discussion, I'll move approval of the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Those items are approved. Next, we'll take the public hearing. So this item is project approval and assessment of the Farview North Residential Street Resurfacing Project. And here to kick off the public hearing is Hazel North from Public Works. Hazel Wolf, excuse me.
Thank you. Good afternoon, committee chair and members of the Public Works Climate and Infrastructure Committee. My name is Hazel Wolf, and I'm a supervising engineering technician with Public Works. I'm here to present to you the Farview Resurfacing Project and recommend passage of resolution ordering the work to proceed and adopting the special assessments in the amount of $846,767.42 for the Farview Residential Resurfacing Project, and passage of resolution requesting the Board of Estimate and Taxation to authorize the city's issuance and sale of assessment bonds in the amount of $846,767.42 for the project. Farview North Residential are local streets bounded by 3rd Street North to DuPont Avenue North and 26th Avenue North to Lowry Avenue North. This area was reconstructed in 1993 and has a pavement condition index of 39. Public Works hosted an in-person community meeting at Farview Recreation Center on Tuesday, February 18th, 2025 at 6 p.m. There were 566 invitations mailed, and approximately 18 attendees came to this meeting. On December 5th, 2024, the City Council designated the improvements proposed to the 2025 Street Resurfacing Program. The purpose of the asphalt pavement resurfacing program is to extend the life of some city streets which are not scheduled for any preventative maintenance, renovation, or reconstruction in the foreseeable future. This resurfacing program is addressing city streets that are at a point in their life cycle where a new surface will extend the street's life, improve ride quality and neighborhood livability, and help slow the overall deterioration of our city street system. The 2025 resurfacing program is identified in the 20-year streets funding plan and was included in the capital improvement program. The proposed street resurfacing special assessments were determined by applying the 2025 Uniform Assessment Rates, UAR, to the land area of benefited parcels located within the street influence zone along the improved streets. These assessments are not calculated based on project cost alone. The city uses a formula that combines influence area with an annually established UAR. This formula is carefully considered and applied by city staff, and it is intended to account for and reflect each project's value to benefited properties. Information has been provided in the notices as to how persons may prepay the special assessments in full without interest if they so choose. City Council has passed resolutions whereby a deferment of special assessments may be obtained by showing hardship for any homestead property owned by a person 65 years of age or older or retired by virtue of permanent and total disability. This concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you for the presentation. I'll now open up the public hearing. And for those who did come to speak but haven't signed up yet, you can see the clerk over here to sign up. Before I invite up our first speaker, I just want to remind that by speaking today in the public hearing, you reserve your right to appeal. After the public hearing, we'll have a discussion as a committee, but if you have specific questions about your assessment, then staff will be able to meet with you just outside the chambers here as well. So with that, our first speaker is Paul Belfleur from Hawthorne.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for allowing me to address the committee and the committee members. I just want to raise a point about my circumstance. Happens to be I bought the house just 2.5 years ago, and being 64 years old, I don't know how long I'll be in that house necessarily. I feel blessed to have been able to purchase a house, and it happens to be on a corner lot, and the assessment's $3,600. I bought the property in a state of disrepair, and I feel like the burden for the street is onerous and will take away from my ability to rehabilitate the property and show that I care about the property and the neighborhood and the city. And I want to just express my hopes that at some point in the future, council members can find a way to generate funds through the system of taxation and appropriate measures to fund the whole street repairs throughout the city instead of using the assessment program for circumstances like mine where I might be funding the next owner's livability. And if nothing else, I thought about a toll booth. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we continue, I did want to recognize that we've been joined by Councilmember Chowdhury. All right, our next speaker is Lynn Nordgren.
Madam Chair and committee members, thank you very much for allowing us to be here. I'm Lynn Nordgren. I live at 2808 North 4th Street and have been on the north side for 45 years of my life, living and working there. I know a lot about the community as a school teacher and a former union president, and as a person who's been involved in the community. And I am here on behalf of our neighborhood. Over the last week, we were able to collect 34 objections, petitions that we sent out. We would have gotten a lot more if it had not been 15 below. And so we know that we could get hundreds more. And the reason we did this is because we feel that this is going to be a hardship for most of the people that live there. They have families, they work hard, but it's a month-to-month way to live. And so we are asking that we don't expect the government to take care of everything. We had a block club that met every month for like 10 years, and we cleaned up our parks, we cleaned up the alleyway and the streets, we had fabulous national night outs, we had all kinds of safety things that we did, and we got Block Club of the Year. We worked so hard. So it's not like we expect you to do everything, but taxes going up, we have not gotten the safety help that we need. We were told 20 years ago that the neighborhood would be all fixed up, and across the city things are going to be fixed up, and we were going to be last on the list, however. It's never happened. And so we now feel another burden of this large amount of money. That's a lot of money for someone to put out. I have a neighbor at 3,300. I'm at 1,600. Excuse me, I have Parkinson's. I'm sorry if you see my shaking. We feel like there's got to be something that to help our neighbors out who can't afford this. We have elderly neighbors who live on Social Security, and so if there's any way that this can be subsumed under taxes or there can be some kind of relief, we would very much appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks so much. Next is Akeisha Everett.
Good afternoon. My name is Akeisha Everett. I am a homeowner, lifelong resident of North Minneapolis. I work, my kids go to school, my kids participate in park activities, always have. I bought my house 8 years ago in Hawthorne on purpose. You know, Northside can be a hard sell sometime, but I love my community. That's why I came back from the University of Minnesota to work in my community, because I feel like I need for my work to be impactful. In my 8 years, what I felt like as a single mother of 2 boys that was an affordable home, and is, in this time, my fixed mortgage is the same as my property taxes monthly. So if you can imagine buying a house where they're telling you, oh, this is a fixed price, it'll never go up. You're not on one of those crazy roller coaster loans, right? My property taxes are going up significantly. Within the 8 years, they're the same amount as my mortgage, okay? So this assessment, without, you know, I know the flyers and all this kind of stuff go out. I made a special request to come down here from my job, to be here to tell my story. The requests go out, even the Tuesday meeting at Hawthorne, I had also a board meeting to attend. All these things are not accessible to working people, and that's all that are over in Hawthorne are working class people. My assessment is $1,900, and from what I know from Jeff said, oh, you can just write a check for it, or you can take a loan out for it. Like all these things to pay for something that I don't think is necessary right now. So I also am claiming that this is a hardship, and I vote against it. That's my vote. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next we have David Luce.
My name is David Luce. I live at 426 29th Avenue North on Farview Park. My wife and family and I have lived on Farview Park for 40 years. I'm a past organizer for the Farview Lowry Block Club, and I'm here to speak for myself. And I would first like to thank Public Works and the council for the recent improvements to actually the recent addressing of a serious traffic and quality of life problem that we've had around Farview Park in recent years. To wit, drivers have been in the habit of cutting from Lyndale Avenue North to Washington Avenue North around Farview Park to avoid the stoplight at 26th and Lyndale. So this has created a traffic problem and a definite quality of life problem with the heavy cut-through traffic. And your recent action to install a mini roundabout at the intersection of 29th Avenue North and 4th Street, and the addition of speed bumps on 29th Avenue, on 4th Street, and on 3rd Street have caused a significant diminishment of cut-through traffic and through traffic in general on 29th, on 4th, and on 3rd. And the neighbors are very grateful for that. Also, it's addressed a serious problem of scofflaw drivers who have run the intersection of 29th and 4th Street, the 29th and 3rd Street consistently over the years and have caused numerous accidents, including one within the last year with a school bus, where the school bus ended up in the front yard of the corner house on 4th and 29th.
We have run out of the 2-minute time, so if you have further comments for the public comment, you can also submit them in writing to the public comment email. Kendall, can you remind us what that is?
Thank you.
Thanks.
It's council comment at minneapolismn.gov.
Thank you. Okay, then our next speaker is Saeed Backus.
Hello, everyone. My name is Saeed Backus, and we own the property at 409 30th Avenue North. Saeed Backus, we own the property at 409 30th Avenue North. And I just want to say, I have been through hardship with assessments due to sidewalks. We bought this in 2008, roughly, and I was younger and hot-blooded. I ended up being sick, and I have an assessment that I'm still paying today from sidewalk being put in because I couldn't afford to do it at the time. So the assessment was probably 4 times what it costs. Here is another assessment that will be added. I almost lost this house because of it. If it wasn't for the CJ help, and the interest rate is ridiculous. So here is another one. So this is hardship for that neighborhood. That's all I'm here to say today. And I will sign any petition. I just wanted to share my story. Thanks, everyone, for listening.
Thank you so much for being here. Before I close the public hearing, is there anyone else who wishes to speak on this item? All right. Yes, please, come on. And please state your name for the record.
Rosanna Backus, and that's my husband just speak. He forgot to mention the reason why the sidewalk had to be replaced is because of the big trees you guys planted there. It raised, the tree roots raised the sidewalk, the concrete, and burst it, so that's why I had to replace. And then when you guys take a tree down, you guys always plant another tree there. And right now, you know, if you drove by my property, you will see that the sidewalk is lifting up again. So the trees are beautiful, yes, but it caused damage to this, and then we get to end up paying, you know, for that. And the taxes is humongous, is ridiculous, you know, and then we have to keep paying this on the CJ, and I'm still making payments, so, yeah, so it's kind of, you know, it's the trees. So he forgot to mention the tree. I just want to let you guys know the trees, costs and the damage.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks so much. Anyone else who wanted to speak on this item? I'm going to close the public hearing and ask if there are any questions for staff about what was addressed in the public comment here today. Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you so much, Chair Cashman, to the community members that came and gave their stories. Really, really appreciate you taking time out of your day to be here. I think every time we have a special assessment, we are thinking back to how this is continually an issue for working people within our city, especially when you layer on the cost. We saw that in our comments, and that's something that we've taken up as a part of our work plan as a committee to figure out what's possible in terms of addressing this and finding ways to relieve hardship. I really thank my colleagues, Councilmember Koski, right here to my right, and then Councilmember Chavez, who did a legislative directive this last climate and infrastructure to ask our staff to look into what's possible around hardship and income equality in addressing this in the future. I wish that there were some tools that we had right now to relieve things for community members. The tools that we do have are limited, and I do want to make sure that that's in the public record for everyone to hear, like what's available to community members. And so I'll ask our city staff or our city attorneys to kind of speak to the deferment options and what's available for different individuals and what's available for others, and how much time is available for community members to pay this assessment.
Great. I see we have Jeff here to answer that question. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Cashman, Councilmember Chowdhury. I'm Jeff Handeland. I'm a principal professional engineer in the Transportation Engineering Design Division of Public Works. We do have assessments for street resurfacing projects are spread over a 5-year term and collected through property taxes, typically beginning the year after construction is complete. There is also a deferment program available to seniors 65 and over or individuals permanently and totally disabled or certain military service personnel. The deferment program does not excuse the assessment but does put off payment until sometime in the future.
Okay.
Thank you. I was just going to say, appreciate that. And then if community members have any question, if you want to look into the deferment program, our city staff, Mr. Handelin, is here to just kind of speak with you and have a conversation about that. And then, of course, do reach out to your council members in advocating and addressing the situation. Reach out to members of this committee outside of this public hearing, because we do want to continue to hear from you. We do understand, I very much understand the hardship that puts on our neighbors.
Absolutely. Okay, well, thank you for explaining that, Mr. Handeland, and for agreeing to meet with folks as well who came in here today to explore what options that they do have for managing the assessments. And it sounds like layering assessments with, sidewalks and now street resurfacing as well. I see no one else on queue to speak on this item, so I will move approval today. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Say nay. The ayes have it, and that item is approved. Thank you so much. Our next discussion item is receiving and filing a project update on the Minnesota Department of Transportation's Rethinking I-94 project. Here to present on this item is Melissa Barnes, the Rethinking I-94 project director. And this will be a pretty lengthy presentation I think we have today, maybe 39 slides. And just as a reminder for those who came into the chamber to be respectful to the speaker and others in the chamber. Oh, I'm sorry, did I miss one? I apologize, we have one more item before. Thank you, Ms. Barnes, for your patience. Okay, we have an item that is a staff presentation about a memorandum of understanding with Xcel Energy to receive utility line maintenance vegetation for the Minneapolis biochar production. So here to kick off this item is Kelly Molman from the Health Department.
Good afternoon, Chair Cashman, committee members. My name is Kelly Molman. I'm the manager for environmental programs with the Minneapolis Health Department. And I'm going to turn it over to Jim Doughton, our manager for the carbon sequestration program, to give the presentation. And then we'll also introduce Suzanne Murphy from Xcel Energy. Thank you.
Great.
Good afternoon, Chair Cashman and committee members. We appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today about the MOU with Xcel Energy between the city for alignment, the biochar program. Just to give a quick update, is that biochar is material that is organic matter that's heated in the absence of oxygen, and it converts into a material that is basically carbon negative. It sequesters carbon. Trees that would normally break down, die, return that up, we're saving that carbon and returning it back into the air, or back into the ground. The benefits of this is that right now we have a large oversupply of wood waste in the metropolitan area. A lot of it dealing with emerald ash borer and coming on down. Over the metropolitan area, we have 550,000 tons of wood waste annually, but a system that can only handle 350,000 tons. The rest of it is going right back into the atmosphere. And as well, with climate change, we're causing problems with our community, and how do we adapt to the changing environment? What we're doing here is addressing that oversupply of wood waste in a responsible manner. One of the co-benefits of this, it's a very beneficial soil amendment. It improves the utilization of nutrients, helps with drought resilience, and helps infiltrate and clean stormwater. And one of the important parts of this, it's always two sides to it. The environmental benefits are great, but the other part is it sequesters carbon for 1,000 years or more. And this is actually a carbon negative, goes beyond carbon neutral program. It is part of our 2023 climate equity plan to help achieve. We're looking at achieving carbon neutrality by 2050. But one of the things is that you cannot just reduce your way to zero. There are some things you can't abate. We cannot meet our carbon goals without a carbon negative component. And this is the only carbon negative program in here. This is a nationally leading program that is now being emulated across the country. Has spurred a lot of activity around the country. The production facility itself is located down by the Towerside Innovation District. Right next to in the shadow of Huntington Bank Stadium, right on the edge of university property, along railroad tracks. And that's a 3-acre parcel owned by CPED that we have a lease on to build the biochar facility. We've gone through all the programming and planning for that. Well, how we do this, it's a unit called a pyrolysis machine. And what it does is, so it takes that, a continuous process. We take wood chips, bring them up to about 550 to 600 degrees Celsius, and it converts that into a stable form of carbon that's also beneficial to the environment. And this is carbon negative. You said it creates more energy than it uses, and actually converts that into a form that can go on the ground. That is actually the picture of our unit on the slide. That is currently in Connecticut, and that is the equipment. We own it, and waiting for the delivery of it as we complete the site. The program is expected to start this summer for producing biochar. We are looking at taking 3,000 tons of wood and converting it. We'll get over 500 tons of biochar, but we're getting an equivalent of over 3,600 tons of carbon dioxide removed. So not just it's gone, taken out of the atmosphere and put down. This is the only carbon negative program within the city that we have right now. You have to have carbon negative to achieve carbon neutral. The partners have been fantastic on this. It has received a lot of positive publicity on this here, but we are quite involved with the program. One of the 3 goals we have with our program is to engage in climate equity work within our green zones and to help those communities where we see health disparities. These are some of the partners that we've worked along the way. We have numerous other agreements in place to work with more community members, a lot of it dealing with food inequity and food security, but a lot of other programs as well. Within the government and institutional partners within Minneapolis, CPED has been a strong partner. We're working well with Public Works in building our green infrastructure and reducing the exposure that we have to climate change and to stormwater, excessive flooding, et cetera. Within other partners we have as well, one of the original agreements we have is with the Shakopee, Metawakan, Sioux community and their organics recycling facility or compost facility. We've had an MOU with them in place since 2014. And we continue to work closely with them, and particularly in pairing biochar and compost for community-led projects within the green zones. Additionally, we've been working closely with the University of Minnesota, the Natural Resource Research Institute up in Duluth, as well as MnDOT, Pollution Control Agency, Hennepin County, Dakota County, Washington County, et cetera, where there's a lot of government interest around here. Originally, we are a leader in this program. We've been working in this space since 2013, which is phenomenal, but we're doing it just as a demonstration. But now we have funding through Bloomberg Philanthropies to help kickstart this program. We're one of 7 cities globally that were chosen to represent this. And we've been working alongside a lot of leaders in the country and throughout the world. And now, for our first agreement on our feedstock, how do we get the wood waste in here? We're coming up with a MOU with Xcel Energy to help provide wood waste at no cost to the city to help with that process. And with that, I will turn it over to Suzanne Murphy from Xcel Energy.
Thanks, Jim. Chair Cashman, council members. So I'm Suzanne Murphy, Community Relations Manager for Xcel Energy in Minneapolis, proud Ward 12 resident. We're really excited about this partnership. At Xcel Energy, it is imperative to us to keep our grid safe and reliable. With increased frequency and severity of storm events, we know that tree trimming is one of the proactive ways that we can prevent outages and also shorten the duration of outages. To give you a sense of scale, in 2024 within the city of Minneapolis, we trimmed trees around 50 miles of our distribution lines, which are the smaller lines that go to homes and businesses, and also 20 miles of our transmission lines, which are the larger lines that you'll see close to downtown or by the river. And what we currently do with that wood waste, which is sizable, we turn it into compost, we turn it into mulch. We also will give it to cities and parks to utilize on their trails and around trees. But this collaboration with the city will allow us to take a certain amount of that wood waste within a 6-mile radius of the city. So some will come within the city's boundaries, some will be beyond. We'll be able to utilize this in a way that is not, like Jim said, it's not just carbon neutral, it's carbon negative. And also, as the city demonstrates this, it'll be good to show other cities what's possible for how utilities and cities can partner. Oh, no, I'm all good. So it also aligns with our larger commitment as a company to be carbon-free. Sorry, I have a bit of a cold. So you might know currently 2/3 of our electricity is carbon-free. And we're also on track to meet the state's 2040 carbon-free standard. So we're excited to be partnering with the city in this way. So at the end.
If you want some water, Councilmember Koski has some for you there.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
As we get through this here, but to reiterate, it's a fantastic program. Leadership, we've shown leadership in the nationally on this program. There's an essential way for us to help meet our carbon neutral goals under our climate equity plan. And it's a great partnership in the spirit of the clean energy partnership that we have with Xcel Energy to cooperate and provide this in order to reduce the carbon footprint of the city and help us balance the system out to meet our climate equity goals. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for the presentation. Thanks for your work on this great project. I just have a couple questions for you about what we're currently doing, because this will start in the summer, right?
Yes.
In the beginning of your presentation, you said how much of the wood waste we're currently able to salvage or use. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, well, right now, this is across the metropolitan area. In fact, I'm part of the Pollution Control Agency's Wood Waste Stakeholders Group, so working closely with MPCA and other counties, et cetera, is that across the metropolitan area, particularly with emerald ash borer, for the next 5 to 7 years will really be a wall of wood, a tsunami of wood. But it's at 550,000 tons a year, and that's throughout the area. And this is balanced out at kind of like across a metropolitan scale. We can handle 350,000 tons as a metropolitan area.
Okay.
The rest of it right now, some of it's burned for electricity and steam, compost, mulch, trail use, et cetera. But the rest of it, this is going to be returned to the atmosphere as a big carbon dioxide bolt coming through the system. And we're trying to find a responsible way to do this. And right now, this is the opportunity with this crisis allows an opportunity to be creative and actually go beyond this to our stewardship into the point where we're trying to address the base issues to get this down to, there's some emissions we can't abate. And this allows us to offset those so that we can responsibly get our emissions down, baseline down to zero.
Great. And then my other question was about who the end user of the biochar is. Is it just the city, or do we allow park board or community groups, community gardens to access and use the biochar to fertilize their product?
Chair Cashman, that is a fantastic question. A lot of this will be going to, part of this is dedicated towards equity work within the green zones and to donate to community groups. And that's a lot of the work we'll be doing at the Shakopee, Mdewakan, and Sioux, and in the green zones to help support biochar and compost to help with their goals. And that's a community-led idea on how to do this. We want to listen to them and support them as we can, to tell them, not to tell them what to do, but how can we help you do it. The other part of it is to help without the city on meeting our climate goals and also improving our green infrastructure as part of our climate equity plan and our 2040 comp plan. But that Public Works is looking at stepping up into stormwater, a lot of stormwater applications. We are looking at tree plantings. We're using it in agriculture, landscaping, et cetera. That's quite a bit of it. And right now I'm working with the Minnesota Department of Transportation to help set up biochar standards so that this will be specified by MnDOT and then further by county and city engineers for use in their infrastructure. So this is something that we can't recreate this throughout the system. Every city can't have a biochar pyrolyzer. But one of the things we want to do is to help them achieve theirs, as well as that would be selling that biochar to help underwrite this. We're looking at cost recovery for our program. So there's local production, local use, but also for throughout the metropolitan area focused on government uses, and the third being the climate equity work within the green zones to help those community members and also other community groups or neighborhood associations throughout the city.
Okay, great. Well, look forward to seeing how neighborhood groups can access the product, especially because we're working on legalizing boulevard gardening this year, and so there's going to be hopefully a lot more community groups and just neighbors stepping up to garden in the public right away.
And the Edible Boulevards group, that's one of the groups that Michelle Shaw, we've been working with for this agreement.
Great.
To help with those. And trying to think of whether there was another aspect to that. But yeah, that will be a good aspect to it to continue.
Vice Chair
trying to think of something else.
Thank you, Chair Cashman. I just had a question about the presentation. I don't see it in LIMS yet, and just wondering, and maybe I'm missing it, but I think this is so exciting, and it's great to be able to send out in our newsletters good news and a great partnership, and would like to be able to do that. So is it in LIMS yet, or?
So as I'm working with Kelly Molman,
Okay.
the manager here, and they said, we'll get that into LIMS.
Okay.
We will get that into LIMS.
Great. I think it would be great to put this on our news bites and make sure that this is something we can distribute. Like Chair Cashman said, I think as neighborhood associations and other groups understand that this is something that they could take advantage of once this starts this summer.
And one of the other things didn't mention in here, but I have other places that earlier, a few years ago, we were working with Helsinki, Stockholm, Boulder, and Minneapolis through the Carbon Negative Cities Alliance. And through that, we got a grant that helped make up a biochar playbook for municipalities, both in Europe and across the United States. And now that's being widely used as a model across the country.
Thank
Great.
you.
All right, well, thank you so much for the presentation on this item. Thanks, Suzanne, for coming in as well. Don't forget to grab your water and stay safe and get well. And seeing no further discussion on this, I'll move approval of the MOU. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and that item is approved. So our next discussion and last discussion item for the day is receiving and filing a project update on MnDOT's Rethinking I-94 project. Here to present is Melissa Barnes, the Rethinking I-94 project director.
Thank you, Chair Cashman and council members. So just to set us in space, what are we looking at? I am working on the Rethinking I-94 project. Rethinking I-94 spans from the 35W Highway 55 interchange in Minneapolis over to Marion Street in St. Paul. It's about 7.5 miles, and we do look at about a 1/4 mile in each direction, both north and south as well. So we're in something called an environmental impact statement. That's the highest level of National Environmental Policy Act review that the federal government has, and it does have multiple phases, so apologies for the complex schedule here. In 2015, our then Commissioner Zelli made an apology to the Rondo community for the harms that were done when the freeway went through their community and took out businesses and homes. From 2016 to 2018, we just went out and listened to community. We weren't in any sort of process. We weren't looking at alternatives. We were just asking about transportation, people's lives, and being around I-94. Out of that came what's called our goals and livability, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. In 2018, we started the environmental process. We have created what's called a purpose and need. We've had feedback on that and more information. We've created evaluation criteria. We've evaluated the alternatives. We've brought the alternatives out in the summer of 2023 for folks to look at. And then now we have evaluated those alternatives, and we're moving forward into a document called the Scoping Decision Document that will come forward with fewer alternatives to move into the next phase. The evaluation of the alternatives is what you'll start to see this spring and summer. These are recommendations at this time. They're preliminary as we move towards more engagement, more time with community, and then a public comment period this upcoming fall that has to happen before we finalize any recommendations. Then we move into Tier 1. So Tier 1 takes an additional 3 years and gets much more detailed into what we're evaluating. After those 3 years, we will have kind of a vision for the 7.5 miles. It's 7.5 miles. Doing 7.5 miles of construction all at once will probably be in the range of almost $2 billion. So it will likely be a program of projects, so multiple projects over a period of time. There is no funding for a project at this time. We're still in scoping, we're still envisioning. We know we have infrastructure needs for a freeway that was built in the early 1960s that are coming up. So when we say 2030, it'll probably be near there, but we have to know what we're building first in order to put funding towards it. So just as a reminder, we're in scoping right now. We will finalize that scoping document here early 2026. So we've got about a year before these recommendations are finalized. Then we move into 3 years of additional analysis, finalizing the final alternative in about 2029 with potential projects in 2030 that need their own environmental document with smaller project limits within this project. So rethinking, I mentioned the purpose and need. I think it's worthwhile to read it. That's just why we are here. So projects within the Rethinking I-94 corridor will improve mobility for people and goods on, along, and across the corridor in a way that facilitates community connections for all modes, enhance safety for people and goods on, along, and across the 94 corridor for all modes, address aging infrastructure condition within the 94 corridor, and support transportation objectives consistent with adopted state and regional plans. These are the needs of the project. So safety for motor vehicles, people and motor vehicles, and safety for people. Walkability and bikeability, risk and comfort. Infrastructure condition, as I said, we're nearing the end of most of the infrastructure's useful life. And mobility. I mentioned the goals earlier on. These were created from the community, from things community said they wanted to see. They are evaluated right along with infrastructure condition and safety and mobility. We heard people say that they wanted to see connections and connecting their community. They wanted to see better public health and environmental concerns, economic vitality, a sense of place, safety, and beyond just the safety we measure in our in our manuals, but a feeling of safety and equity. So when we went to develop alternatives, we had all that information. And we did a transit study. We took the time. We know that transit is important along this corridor. We married that with the highway elements and put them together to bring out alternatives that we shared with the public. We know that there are needs both along and across for improved pedestrian and bicycle facilities. We have a commitment to improve those, and we'll be looking at that more in the next phases. There were 10 alternatives. It was a lot. I will go through these in a little bit more detail. I'm just going to touch on them lightly here. Ranging from doing nothing, we always have to have a do nothing alternative. That's what we compare all future alternatives to. That's called our no build. We had some minor maintenance alternatives. We have alternatives that expand the freeway. We have alternatives that reconfigure the freeway. And then we have alternatives that fill in the freeway and make it an at grade with something like a traffic signal at intersections. We developed the evaluation criteria. Alternatives that move forward into the tier 1 phase, they need to address the purpose and need. The purpose and need is why we are here, why we started the project. Alternatives may be screened out, though, if they do not meet social, economic, and environmental impact needs, if they do not meet the goals or livability, and also with additional considerations. Additional considerations are related to cost and alignment with state, regional, and local plans. We're online right now, so when we released the alternatives in 2023, there wasn't a lot of context to them. We've evaluated the alternatives. The evaluation's online. It's just a little snip on the screen of what the summary matrix looks like, but it's available for folks to look at. It's big. We don't have time to go through it today, but there for people who want to understand more about how each alternative measured up to each of the evaluation criteria. So we developed that information based on the alternatives evaluation memo, and I would encourage folks to go and take a look. We'll be coming out with more of that for the public in the summer, and there's some good ways to walk through that online if folks are interested. So here are our preliminary recommendations, then I'll walk through a little bit more detail about why on each one of them. So we're recommending to retain the no build that's required to move forward as part of the environmental process. A maintenance B alternative that adds transit shoulder west of Highway 280 to provide a consistent transit shoulder between downtown St. Paul and Minneapolis. A reduced freeway alternative that makes a consistent 3-lane section between downtown St. Paul and Minneapolis, with one of those lanes being a managed lane with BRT, Easy Pass, and HOV. Or reconfigured freeway, which is 4 consistent lanes in each direction, with one of those lanes being a managed lane. Alternatives, we're recommending to dismiss both expanded freeway alternatives, something called the local regional, and I'll talk more about that one in a second, both at-grade alternatives and a minor maintenance alternative. So again, the no build's required to be retained, so we're going to keep that one moving forward just because it's required to compare all the other alternatives. The maintenance B alternative, as I mentioned, that one adds a transit shoulder west of Highway 280. Currently, there is no transit shoulder west of Highway 280, so it allows for transit to have a transit advantage the entire route of I-94. It does not fail anything in purpose and need. It meets all the purpose and need, and it allows for improvements both across I-94 and along for people walking and biking as we look at improving the bridges. There's no major potential impacts to social, economic, or environmental issues, and does have a moderate potential to address some of the goals and livability items. But we'll be looking at it more in the next phase. This alternative, just to kind of give folks a picture, is the reduced freeway alternative. Right now, I-94 is 3 or 4 lanes in each direction, depending on where you are along the 7.5 miles. Again, the reduced freeway would create a consistent 3-lane section with one of those lanes being that managed lane. All 4 project needs are addressed, but there are some concerns with mobility impacts. It does push traffic onto local street systems, but we really need to study it further to understand that one more. There's a mix of benefits and impacts for social, economic, and environmental factors, including moving some traffic closer to homes, so that brings air quality concerns. But again, we'll look at that more in the next phase. We talked about transit. There's 3 different alternatives for transit. There's no stops between downtown St. Paul and Minneapolis, 1 stop, or there's 3 stops. When we add a stop at Cedar Riverside, there is a concern, so that's the 3-stop alternative, that will impact right-of-way and end up touching perhaps businesses or homes. So something we will have to pay attention to as we look further into that, as we do not want to impact right-of-way. A little bit of information just on the impacts to traffic as we start to talk about the regional system and looking at making a smaller I-94. I-94 would be reduced. We're looking at 2045 traffic volumes here. They're fairly similar to the traffic volumes out there today when you start to look at that. I-94 would be reduced by traffic. Traffic would go regionally, kind of as you'd expect. People would take 36, 35E, 35W, a few on 494 and 694 as they're trying to go east-west regionally. I also want to point out the impacts to the local system. The Twin Cities is vibrant, and people want to be in the Twin Cities, or people are starting from the Twin Cities. So as we look at those impacts, you can see impacts to the east-west roadways, some north-south roadways, or as people are trying to get to and from east-west roadways. And you'll hear me talk a little bit about the bridge, not because it's the only pinch point, but because we do not have a consistent network over rivers. So when we start to get to a river, we only have so many river crossings, and that means that we only have so much capacity to get over the river. So for the reduced freeway, currently there's about 17,000 to 18,000 vehicles per day that cross at Lake Street. That would go up by about 4,000 vehicles per day. On Washington Avenue, there's about 6,000 vehicles per day that cross it. That would want to go up by about 2,000 vehicles per day. So you can start to see how much additional trips would be on the network outside of 94. Then we said, well, we know that our models are not 100% perfect. So what would happen if we took away an additional 33% of those trips? What would happen if we said 22,000 trips either wouldn't be made, would take another mode, or travel someplace else? Maybe they'd go even further away than 694 or 494. Then we're starting to look at Lake Street Bridge would only want to increase by maybe 2,500 vehicles per day. And the Washington Avenue Bridge would only want to increase by 1,200 vehicles per day. Those numbers are much more reasonable, something we can look at as part of the next phases, and we want to learn more and are moving this one forward. The next alternative we're proposing to retain is called the reconfigured freeway. This alternative has 4 consistent lanes in each direction, with one of those lanes being a managed lane. Again, all 4 project needs are addressed. It does have a potential for a mix of social, economic, and environmental impacts. And again, that concern with that 3rd bus rapid transit station. It has a moderate to high potential to address the goals and livability items, and no concerns related to additional considerations. Moving on to the alternatives we're recommending to be dismissed. Again, that was maintenance A, both expanded freeways, the local regional alternative, and both at-grade alternatives. Maintenance A is a minor maintenance alternative. It doesn't really expand bridges. It keeps the roadway as it is. This one fails to meet the purpose or the needs of the project. The expanded freeways, I'm just going to show one picture here. Expanded Freeway A adds a managed lane to the entirety of 94, so keeps it as it is today, adds an additional lane. Expanded Freeway B adds a general purpose lane and puts transit on the shoulder. Both of these alternatives technically address the purpose and need. However, they do have a high potential for greater impacts to the social, economic, and environmental resources, including potential right-of-way impacts, including increased exposure to noise and air quality issues. So for those reasons, we are proposing to dismiss both expanded freeway alternatives. The local or regional roadway alternative, this one, the vision here is the regional system would be a freeway still. It would have maybe 1 or 2 interchanges between downtown St. Paul and Minneapolis. So today there's interchanges like Dale and Snelling and 280 and additional ones. Maybe there'd only be Snelling. The rest of the traffic would go up onto the local system and access the local street network in that area. This alternative, we do have concerns with the ability to meet the purpose and need, particularly mobility, as we start to talk about the size of the interchanges needed. At that one interchange, we would likely be also impacting right-of-way. There's also additional negative impacts to environmental justice populations. When we move more traffic, slower moving traffic, closer to people's homes, that is worse for noise and worse for air quality. The at-grade alternatives, there are 2 of them. Again, I'm just showing one. That would fill in the 94 trench, put I-94 at the same grade as cross streets, and put traffic signals on I-94 instead of interchanges. There'd be 2 lanes in each direction. The vision would be for more like a 30-mile-per-hour street with a dedicated bus rapid transit lane in each direction. The other at-grade alternative, at-grade B, just put that bus rapid transit lane on the outside of the general purpose lanes. These alternatives do not address mobility. It is extremely overcapacity. It makes safety worse. So more people, there will be more fatalities than there are today. There are some concerns and questions about how to improve walkability and bikeability. Also, there will be more people exposed to worse air quality. Again, we are putting more people on the local system, moving slower, which will expose more people to air quality issues. We know that there's been questions about the walkability and bikeability for the at-grade alternatives. The performance is mixed and has questions. There are some benefits and some concerns. There's the concern about the potential for increased conflicts with motorized vehicles. However, there might be the potential for additional crossings. So for that reason, it was rated as yellow or questionable. The at-grade alternatives are not recommended for dismissal because of walkability and bikeability, but because of safety and mobility. So I'll show you again. We'll go to the regional roadway system, impacts to I-94 in 2045. Daily traffic on I-94, you would have to move 128,000 vehicles off of I-94. They go kind of where you'd expect them. 36, 35W, 35E. They go down to 494, 62, West 7th, Hiawatha, in order to kind of work their way around the cities. I do want to point out here, though, the Lake and Marshall Bridge. As a reminder, that bridge today is about 17,000, 18,000 vehicles. Traffic on that bridge would want to double. So we'd need to put about an additional 18,000 vehicles on that bridge in order to make this work. That actually can't happen. Here's the local system. So this is the local roadway network. As we start to look at what roadways would see increases in traffic, most of these roadways that are red would double or nearly double in traffic as we start to look at them. Again, the bridges are some of the things that get mostly impacted. There are also other pinch points on the system. The new 94 would be about 35,000 vehicles per day. So again, we're going from about 170,000 vehicles per day to 35,000 vehicles per day. When you start to cross a 35,000 vehicle per day roadway with another 30,000 vehicle per day roadway, that's when you really need to look at grade separation for safety. You start to see a lot more crashes. They start to increase, and mobility. We have a couple 30,000 vehicle per day roadways along this corridor, both at Snelling and Lexington. So we've actually ended up back right where we started. So we looked at a sensitivity analysis here, just like we did on the reduced freeway, and said, well, what would happen if less people made the trip, or more people switched modes? we assumed 72,000 people would do something different. They would not make the trip. They would take transit. They would take maybe a roadway even further away than 694. We're still seeing an increase on the Lake Street Bridge by almost 12,000 vehicles per day. We're still seeing an increase on the Washington Avenue Bridge of double the traffic. And we all know how hard it is to even get to the Washington Avenue Bridge. So this does not serve mobility. There is not the capacity in the surrounding network to make up for the traffic that 94 currently carries today. I mentioned we're coming out to share this with the public. Those are part of our next steps. We are currently kind of in review right now of some documents. Coming up the end of March, we're going to release a document called the Alternatives Evaluation Document and really start coming out into community to share this information with people. If folks here ever have an idea of where we should be, how we reach the people you represent, we're happy to coordinate with you. Would like to be out in neighborhoods for seriously this summer as we lead into that public comment period this upcoming fall. So what have we done with the feedback that we've gotten till date? Changes have happened at every step. When we developed our first purpose and need, it looked different than the one I shared with you today. That was updated from community feedback. When we developed the evaluation criteria, it looked different than some of the items I talked about today. Those were updated from community feedback as well. The goals and livability were created directly by the community. 3 of the 10 alternatives we evaluated were community-created alternatives. And then we were requested to do a traffic analysis. Additional traffic analysis. We did a third-party review of our traffic analysis and used existing tools to track tools of existing traffic and how it moved around today. Minneapolis staff are pretty closely involved. We have staff involved in 4 of our working groups and that meet monthly. There's the technical advisory group, the traffic working group, the bicycle and pedestrian working group, as well as our policy and planning committee. We have 2 Minneapolis council members, Councilmember Osmond and Councilmember Wansley, on our policy advisory committee. And we have a group called the Community Leaders. That's a group of about 45 stakeholders from neighborhoods who advise us on our outreach and engagement materials. There's about a dozen representatives from Minneapolis neighborhoods on that group, and we're always happy to take feedback. So next steps, we have our cooperating and participating agency review. Minneapolis is a participating agency and is currently reviewing the alternatives evaluation memo. That'll be wrapped up here about the end of March. We'll be updating the policy advisory committee and community leaders once that memo is finalized, and then we're bringing it out to the public to share, to make sure people understand, to answer any questions that people have, all leading into that public comment period this upcoming fall, and then finalization of the scoping document in early 2026. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Yes. Excuse me. I'm also recovering from a cold. Thank you for the presentation. I'm going to check which council members are in queue to ask you some questions. I guess I'll get started. You know, as someone who has worked on city-related plans for mode shift goals and vehicle miles traveled reduction goals for, I don't know, maybe 15 years since I was a very young person in this city. I'm just curious about how those goals are being incorporated into your analysis here, because I know that we do have a state vehicle miles reduction goal as established by the state legislature, so I'm wondering how this project contributes to reducing vehicle miles traveled and mode shift goals for city, county, and for the state.
Yeah, good question. Chair Cashman, thank you. We have similar goals, the states. I don't know if they're exactly aligned, but we are operating, when we start to talk about alignment with our state and regional plans, we're operating under those state and regional plans. So all of the alternatives we have on the table include quality transit service, include improvement to bicycle and pedestrian facilities, and we do have alternatives that reduce VMT that will be moving forward into the next phase.
Okay, which of the alternatives reduce VMT?
The reduced freeway alternative.
Okay. And do you have an estimation of how many vehicles, miles traveled, they would reduce?
I would have to get back to you on that.
Okay. I also wanted to ask about your modeling. So when I was looking at this presentation in advance and I saw what I consider to be a trade-off that's being illustrated of how many vehicles would move to other streets, to me, it's not clear to me why that's a bad thing, that vehicles moving to Lake Street or moving to Washington or even moving to 494 and 694 outside of the city. Why is that a bad thing when those streets do have like transit networks? You know, Lake Street has a BRT line that's going to be opening this spring, which can carry so many more people than a vehicle can. So how are you evaluating like the future plans for transit expansion on all those other corridors that the vehicles would move to?
Yeah, thank you, Chair Cashman. Good question. As we start to talk about vehicles and trips, which I think maybe you're referencing too, moving to different streets, yes, there is assumptions in our modeling that those BRT and other transit improvements will be there as we're moving forward into 2045. So there is an assumption of here's the additional folks who will be taking transit, we'll be putting additional transit. I think when we start to talk about trade-offs of moving to local streets, whether that's I'm not putting a bad or good aspect on that, but we did learn that when we looked at particularly the at-grade alternative and we moved that much additional traffic to local streets, and particularly the high injury network, we are seeing an increase in fatalities overall, and those fatalities are going to impact people walking and biking most of all.
I mean, aren't highways the most dangerous streets of any?
Actually, highways usually are safer streets as you have similar speeds, people merging on and off. The crashes you do get can be more severe because of high speeds, but there are more crashes on city streets per vehicle miles traveled than there would be on a highway.
But deadly, I mean, dangerous crashes.
Yes, pedestrian crashes, even on low speed streets, are also very dangerous.
Okay. I live on the highway, so I'm in the Loring Heights neighborhood. I live right before the Lowry Tunnel, and there are crashes at that area pretty frequently. And so, you know, I'm looking at what's the best thing for my neighborhood in Loring Heights and Lowry Hill. For me, it feels like slowing down traffic, reducing vehicle miles traveled, having safe transit options is a priority, which is why, you know, we authored the Rethinking I-94 Priorities resolution that we shared with you last year as well from the City Council's perspective. So I just wanted to ask a couple more questions about public health. We did we had a legislative directive last year in this committee about the HERC, the Hennepin Energy Recovery Center, and the public health data that came forward to us showed a map, which is like cancer risk along the city or throughout the city, and it did show that vehicle emissions are the biggest contributor to cancer risk, and it showed a really dark red swath, and that basically follows the 94 corridor. So can you explain how you are considering you know, respiratory problems, asthma, cancer, and the reduction of those public health impacts in your analysis?
Yeah, thank you, Chair Cashman. We do look at air quality from a regional, but also from attainment standards. So we are in attainment in the Twin Cities, and we're meeting the requirements for air quality that we do need to meet, and we will continue to monitor whether we're meeting them throughout the project. As we started to look at trade-offs between different alternatives and talked with experts, we've had this question a lot. What impacts could we do? How do we measure trade-offs to improve air quality? When we slow traffic down, air quality issues increase exponentially. So the slower traffic is going, the worse air quality is. In general, over time, air quality is getting better. The fleet's turning over, running up with more electric vehicles, so things are improving in general. But when we slow traffic down and move them closer to houses and move more traffic closer to houses, we make air quality worse. The best thing we can do for air quality is to keep traffic moving. on the freeway so that it is not bringing forth that additional emissions that happen when you really slow traffic down.
It feels like that depends on what scale you're considering. I mean, the best thing for air quality would be to reduce vehicle miles traveled, right?
In certain cases. So I think there's trade-offs, and I think you can go pretty far another way, where if you have traffic that's come to a standstill, perhaps you haven't improved anything, but you have idling trucks, idling vehicles that aren't moving, and that's not going to be good to breathe in.
Yeah. I see that argument in a lot of the street reconstruction projects that we have throughout the city, that people complain about idling vehicles as being, if you slow traffic down, then there'll be idling vehicles and that'll cause more respiratory health. But that's counter to our goals as a city to slow traffic down. I mean, we heard someone today talking about how important traffic calming has been for his neighborhood, and that's a program that we as a council absolutely love and want to support in every neighborhood, with the goal being slow traffic down, because that's what residents want, is slower traffic, less fatalities, less air emissions. So I'm just feeling like the argumentation is showing the opposite from your perspective of, higher speeds is better, more traffic is better, when that's not the goals that we have as a city. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, good question, Chair Cashman. There are different roadways. There are different roadway types that serve different roadway purposes. You're right, on a neighborhood street, we want to see vehicles moving slowly, and we don't want many vehicles there at all. So, you might see 100 vehicles a day on a neighborhood street. On the freeway, keeping vehicles moving at a consistent speed does increase safety and does reduce air quality issues. So they're two different types of roadways.
Okay.
When we start to push additional traffic, and a lot of additional traffic onto those local streets, that's when we're going to start to see the safety issues pop up and additional air quality issues come into play.
Okay, and then my last question, I guess, will be about greenhouse gas reduction goals with this project. I didn't see anything about that.
Yeah, good question again, Councilmember Cashman. Yes, that is in process. So that's working through the legislature. This project will need to consider that. We're waiting for kind of the final rules and regulations, and we are actually kind of prior to even needing to put this project through the greenhouse gas legislation process. So that will be coming up.
Okay, thanks. Next, I'll recognize Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you so much, Chair Cashman, and thank you so much, Ms. Barnes, for your presentation. I'm also kind of just thinking about the pollution from the highway and just the considerations that MnDOT's currently making. What analysis has been done by MnDOT during the scoping process for rethinking I-94 in terms of pollution and greenhouse gases?
Thank you, Councilmember Chowdhury. Yes, we've coordinated with the PCA, so the Pollution Control Agency, as well as the Minnesota Department of Health, to better understand what's currently out there right now and the monitoring that's happening nearby as we start to talk about the length of the freeway. Any monitors that are near the freeway are actually showing that they're fine, that they're in attainment, and that is, so we hear one thing and then we see another from at least our Pollution Control Agency. Again, we worked with the Minnesota Department of Health. I've seen the same kind of red, light up of asthma issues and other issues along different freeway systems, and they also overlap with our environmental justice communities most often.
What does fine and in attainment mean when they're doing monitoring?
Yep, thank you, Councilmember Chowdhury. When they're in attainment means we are meeting all regulations. So anywhere that there's a regulation for any sort of particulate matter, we are within levels.
Okay, so it's currently just scoping for what's the current status quo of I-94 and not additional pollution from what's already there. Because like what's the status quo is like we very much can tell, just like how you mentioned, like it's layered in with our environmental justice communities, that the highway has significantly contributed to pollution and reduced air quality in the area. So it's like that reduced air quality and current pollution is within the standards set by the MPCA.
Councilmember Chowdhury, the current air quality and pollution is within those standards set by the PCA. However, the things we are looking at are improving access to green spaces, improving that sense of place, putting in additional greenery. We want to do those things, and those things, particularly the additional greenery, have been known to improve things like air quality. So those are pieces that we want to include as part of our project. We don't think it's status quo. We want to do something better out here.
Is the EIS going to do an analysis of pollution and greenhouse gas emissions? Is that a part of it?
Councilmember Chowdhury, yes, we do, and we will be doing the analysis as required by the legislature for greenhouse gas emissions, and we will be doing an analysis of air quality as part of the EIS. We do the air quality both in scoping and as part of the next phase. The greenhouse gas, as I mentioned before, will be as part of the legislation.
Okay. And then I think I kind of just like want to tap on the elephant in the room, and it's about the at grade A and B being dismissed as options to be studied. And I looked back at like the engagement report, and those were very popular and also supported by a lot of the elected officials on the PAC, different community leaders. Why not just consider studying it and then get the EIS report on those considerations around pollution and greenhouse gas emissions, especially if we're, right now what I'm hearing is a little bit of like, okay, this has the potential for more pollution and less safety. Why not have that studied and have those metrics to kind of additionally back that up? And why not study one of the most popular options?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Councilmember. A couple of things. Out of that survey that we had, it was also the most disliked option, and actually even more so than liked. So that's not a scientific survey. We had many ways of getting feedback, but as we start to talk about what we're hearing as to what people like, we definitely hear both sides of that. People either really like it or really dislike it. It seems very polarizing. Why wouldn't we just study it into the next phase? We've already shown that it makes safety worse, that it makes mobility worse. It would impact EJ populations more. Studying it at this time increases the amount of time we will be spending on this project. We have been here since 2016 looking at this project. We have infrastructure needs that need to be addressed very, very soon, and we need to get through this process. It is a lot of effort to look at this. It would bring in additional cities and counties. Any city or county that had an increase on their roadway would also end up being involved in this project at that time. So all the suburbs, this would become a regional project. We would need to be talking to all of them as we're increasing traffic on their roadways as well.
I appreciate that answer. I mean, I think I joined other voices, other local leaders in the area of just like the dismay and just not doing the environmental, the EIS study for an option, while might be polarizing, is one that's being heavily discussed and debated. And I guess a question just following up with that, has MnDOT explored like partial conversion of parts of I-94, studying it? So like there is some boulevard spaces, and again, like as Councilmember Cashman mentioned, per our goals as a city, it is figuring out how we reduce traffic. And then, yeah, I have a follow-up question to that one, but I'll have you answer that portion. Has there been a discussion around partial conversion to boulevards for I-94 at grade?
Yes, Councilmember Chowdhury, we did look at the local regional, if that's what you're talking about. We didn't look at smaller sections of I-94 being an at-grade roadway. I think once you kind of look at it, if you're going to do it, it would make sense perhaps from that broader perspective in order to have some consistency and have a system that worked. So no, we didn't look at a smaller or shorter segment of at-grade conversion.
That didn't seem feasible
No, we didn't look at it.
because of feasibility reasons, or just it wasn't something that was on the table?
Feasibility reasons, and it was not on the table. And the request really was for the entirety of the corridor.
And my kind of last thing to touch on my end is, while I appreciate the considerations of like placemaking, greenery, why in this large project of rethinking I-94, isn't there a component of discussing reducing the capacity that we're expecting in 2045, right? The capacity is meant to be the same as it is in 2025 to 2045, but why aren't we forward thinking and finding ways to reduce vehicle miles traveled or needs for cars? And like, where does that come with our goals around transit and existing projects like the Gold Line, Blue Line extension, rail potentially in this corridor? Why are we sticking to the current capacity as what we are aiming for in the future?
Councilmember, good question. We are looking at reducing the freeway. We're looking at a smaller freeway footprint. When we start to talk about vehicle miles traveled as an agency, we often look at it from a systems perspective. The cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul that this project is in have done a lot of work making roadways smaller. That Lake Street Bridge I referenced is now a 3-lane facility instead of a 4-lane facility. A lot of that's made possible by the fact that 94 carries some of that traffic and a large portion of that traffic. So we are aware of providing quality transit service along and across I-94, and we do have alternatives that reduce the capacity of I-94, looking for that push, like getting people into that quality transit at the same time as reducing the amount of capacity on 94 itself.
Yeah, but it seems like it's reducing the capacity of I-94, but keeping the still total amount of vehicles on I-94 trips the same and just spreading them out into different places. Why not have like a goal, just going to say arbitrary number of like, we're going to reduce it from down to 10,000 trips from what we have currently by cars traveled.
Thank you, Councilmember. Yes, we did do some of that assumption. So when I showed those sensitivity analyses, some of that we just start to assume that additional traffic, like 22,000 vehicles for the reduced freeway, no longer make the trip. In the case of the at-grade, we actually looked at 72,000 vehicles no longer make the trip. So we are looking at what would it look like? How could we plan for a future where there are less people driving?
Okay, thank you. That's all of my questions for this moment. I will just touch on one thing. I think us currently relying on electrification of fleet in a time where we're going to see rollbacks on electrification from the federal government as a way to mitigate greenhouse gases is troubling, and I think we should be looking for ways to reduce greenhouse gases and just vehicle miles traveled on I-94, and that's why I think I hear MnDOT on the at-grade portion, if it was its current capacity, the safety and mobility issues, but reducing capacity, reducing the greenhouse gases, it seems like that's kind of the penultimate thing that's needed, not only to make boulevard conversion work, but to at scale address the challenges around climate change, and then city goals of making sure that 60% of trips by residents are not single cars. So I'll just close on that. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Yeah, thank you so much. I just wanted to reflect that I think a really good metric for how we're shifting and building our transit system is just to look at, when you Google Maps from your one destination to the next, like what's the ratio between the transit option or the active option and the driving option? And as someone who, I live in Loring Heights, I live on the freeway, used to work in St. Paul, and I would get up in the morning and I'd say, ooh, should I take the light rail? It's 45 minutes. Or should I take 94? It's 10 minutes by driving. And so I'm often going to choose 94 because it's so much faster. And so I do feel like there's an element here of like 94 and its ease and its fastness is just enabling us to forego the transit options. And so you say that, you know, the fact that 94 is here is like, is why we can do all these great new transit lines, B-Line, light rail, et cetera. But I also think it's probably a huge contributor to why ridership of Metro Transit can't grow. And I would just love to see us like prioritize the goals of growing ridership over prioritizing like speed of goods and people. So yeah, thank you so much for your presentation today and for keeping us in the loop on the progress of your work.
Thank you.
All right, so seeing no further business to come before the committee today, I'll declare the meeting adjourned.